Hey, Alie. You ready?
Yeah. Hey there, Brainiacs. It's a new year, and with the turn of the calendar comes the tradition of New Year's resolutions, where we all resolve to eat better, drink less, exercise more, and feel better after the holidays leave us feeling a bit bloated and tired. But why is it so hard to stick to those resolutions? Why do we have such a hard time breaking bad habits and building new ones? It seems like it should be easy. I should be able to just decide that I want to eat fewer sugary snacks and start eating more healthy whole grains. I want to, so I can, right? The reality is a little more complicated. Habits are a critical part of our daily lives, and they're deeply etched into our neural circuitry. Each time we repeat a habitual action, the pattern is carved just a little bit deeper and gets a little bit harder to break. Which isn't to say that breaking bad habits is impossible. It just requires some focused effort. When we're talking about habits in the behavioral sense, we're talking about learned, repeated behavioral patterns, like the way you tie your shoes, or drive a car, or type on a keyboard. These are behaviors that become automatic and are not necessarily tied to an outcome or goal, but rather tied to a situation or location. What that means is that you don't eat all those cookies at Christmas because you're trying to sate your hunger. You eat them because there's a plate of cookies in front of you, and that's what you do with cookies, because it's what you've always done with cookies. Habits are a kind of memory called implicit memory. While explicit memories are your memories of places, things, and events, implicit memories are unconscious and don't require you to think about the action while you're doing it. These two different kinds of memories are stored differently in the brain. Explicit memories are recalled using the hippocampus, while implicit memories require the basal ganglia. The basal ganglia is a group of subcortical structures located deep inside the brain that are critically important for motor control, motor learning, behaviors, and emotions. Habits, in particular, are thought to be processed by a part of the region called the dorsal striatum. The dorsal striatum receives signals in the form of the neurotransmitters glutamate and dopamine and acts as a major input to the rest of the basal ganglia, acting as a critical part of the reward learning system. When you develop a habit, you activate a particular kind of learning called stimulus response, which is how your brain learns the relationship between a particular action and the subsequent outcome. For this to work, you need a trigger, a behavior, and a reward. For example, if you feel hungry, the trigger, that will make you seek out a cookie and eat it, the behavior, making you feel full, the reward. Essentially, habits hijack this existing system in your brain by helping you connect certain behaviors with specific rewards. Every time you engage in a behavior that leads to a certain outcome, like eating a cookie causing you to feel full, the neural circuit that processes that information becomes more strongly connected. And over time, that circuit fast-tracks the information about the relationship between the cookie and your feelings. This is sometimes framed as cells that fire together, wire together, meaning that when your neurons are repeatedly activated together, the connections between them become more ingrained. Eventually, you're not even thinking about the motivation behind the action. You're just performing the action because something triggered the now automatic behavior. Our habits often coincide with goal-directed behaviors. They're often useful. Like, you know exactly where to reach to turn on the light when you're heading into your kitchen in the middle of the night because you don't want to stub your toe. It's important for our brains to create these sorts of shortcuts to process information, or we'd get overwhelmed by things pretty quickly. Imagine if you had to consciously think through every step of tying your shoe, every single time you did it. Or if you had to think carefully about the relationship between the gas pedal and the brake pedal every time you got in the car. We build habits to make things faster and to free up the rest of our brains to process other information. The downside of that, of course, is that once those circuits get ingrained in our brains, it's hard to break those habits. Our minds process these behaviors unconsciously, and it takes a lot of concentrated time and effort to undo those connections and build new ones. Unfortunately, there's no magic system to erase those old synapses. But there are some tricks to breaking those bad habits. The first is to start forcing yourself to think about the behavior every time you do it. When you go to scroll through Twitter, consciously consider what you're doing. Think about why you're doing it and what purpose it serves. Think about how scrolling through Twitter makes you feel and whether or not it's actually beneficial. Think about whether or not this is actually what you want to be doing right now, or if you're just procrastinating or just bored. This helps your brain know whether or not what you're doing is actually rewarding. It also helps to remove the trigger that starts an action. So if you're trying to spend less time on Twitter because your life is consumed by it, try deleting the app from your phone or blocking it on your computer. This makes it way more difficult for you to fall down the rabbit hole and become completely consumed by toxic people who tweet idiotic drama.
Alie, is this like a personal thing?
No. Finally, replace the habit with something else. Preferably a good habit you're trying to build. So when you're feeling the impulse to sit on your couch and scroll through Twitter, you could sit down and write out a few lines in a journal instead. Or go for a walk around the block. Or use Instagram instead.
Alie.
Wait, no. Find something that distracts you from whatever you were planning on doing and gives you some other kind of reward. If you're trying to build good new habits, there are some tricks for that too. First, start small. Don't try to make a ton of changes all at once. Trying to shake up your whole life will make it hard to succeed. But if you make small, incremental changes, it will get easier with each step. So instead of saying, I want to stop eating junk food, go to the gym every day, and start meditating every night, start with something like, I'm gonna get rid of all the cookies and chips in the house, so when I want to snack, I'll eat something better for me. It also helps if you can make yourself accountable and connect it with a community. When I started to exercise regularly, I found that going to fitness classes was the best way to get motivated. I had a buddy who went with me, so we'd encourage each other to attend on the days we didn't feel like going, and I got to enjoy the time with my teacher and classmates each day. Now, I like working out so much that I can motivate myself to work out without a class. Finally, be patient and try to automate the process. It can take weeks to make a new habit automatic, so don't get discouraged if you're still struggling to ditch the sugary snacks after a month or so. And you can connect the new habit with an existing habit, like taking the stairs instead of the elevator anytime you have to go up a few floors in a building. So yes, we humans are creatures of habit. And those habits give our super powerful brains the space to think about even more complex and important things. But luckily, with enough willpower and patience, that same brain gives us the ability to swap bad habits for good. What habits are you trying to break or build this year? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching this episode of Neurotransmissions. Until our next transmission, I'm Alie Astrocyte. Over and out.
No.